This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's Worst 250 so you don't have to.
My name is Abigail Wood.
And I'm Michelle St. Clair.
And tonight, we watch the 1998 remake, Psycho. A young female embezzler arrives at the Bates Motel, which has terrible secrets of its own. Let's watch. We had a fun Halloween weekend, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did.
We had a big one for what we can do in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Which is we had 2 people over and we watched scary movies.
We did. Continuing my horror education, I've now seen Scream and Halloween and Friday the 13th and The Exorcist. And those are the main, classic scaries that we watched.
The big scaries.
Yeah.
For some reason, you just didn't gel with Sleepy Hollow, and that hurts my feelings.
It's probably just because it wasn't very good.
What?
I think it wanted to be 3 different movies all at once. I think it wanted to be a horror movie, but it also thought that it was sort of a period comedy.
Yeah. The tonally, it was all over the place.
Yeah.
But good fun. And, it's always nice seeing Christopher Walken appear
as a strange, not particularly scary, sharp-toothed man.
7-year-old me thought he was very scary.
That's fair. It was sort of like spooky Sherlock.
Yeah, spooky Sherlock. I see that.
He's a detective trying to solve a crime.
Yeah.
But when he realizes that the crime is supernatural, he really just goes with it without much fuss.
It really was. I think Sleepy Hollow was that film that we watched every Halloween when I was growing up for whatever the fuck reason.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because we watched a whole bunch of other movies that would be better to watch.
I didn't want to be genuinely spooked. I wanted to watch Johnny Depp make silly faces.
Yeah, well, because we also watched the one that I watched every Halloween, which was Hocus Pocus.
Oh, that is a classic.
Fantastic. Holds the fuck up.
Really does. Bette Midler is too charming. Didn't we all figure out that all 3 of us that live in this house are the different witches from Hocus Pocus?
I was Kathy Najimy, and Brooke was Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah. Which means that I was domineering and very evil Bette Midler, which I'm fine with, honestly. Yeah. I used to watch Beaches obsessively, and me and my gal pal, Sammy, at the time, when we were actually friends, loved
being
Beaches.
Friends. Of course you loved Beaches. Classic friendship movie.
And I really related to the Bette Midler character because she was loud and annoying, and at the time I was both those things a lot. I don't think anything's changed. Yeah, we got dressed up.
Yeah, we did. I was a Christmas vampire.
You were.
Yeah, because
I was a cheap witch.
Yeah, you were a cheap witch.
Because I didn't want to think about my outfit.
And then for Halloween, you dressed up as Nailed it. It's that old school Catskills comedy. It's just left, right, and center.
I mean, if I'm ever going to dress up as a witch, I should dress up as Angelica Houston from Witches.
Yes.
And I don't mean her in her witch form. I mean her in her sexy Angelica Houston form.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had such a weird crush on Angelica Houston when I was younger. I had a photo of her in my high school textbook that I just stuck in the pages.
I think it's because of that thing of they make every villain queer to demonize it, and then subsequently queer women and queer men grow up liking villains.
Yeah.
So then they make villains queer intentionally because it's hot.
It is hot. It is.
Yeah.
God, I loved the 1995 film, Witches.
Yeah.
I love that film so much.
It's a good movie.
The purple sparkly eyes, the women, mice.
I've heard the recent...
mice.
What?
I just love mice.
I've heard the recent remake of it with Anne Hathaway is also really good.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, man. Anne Hathaway's been posting on it. I follow her on Insta.
So you know her personally?
I know her personally.
You and Anne go way back.
Yeah. I always just call her Anne. She calls me, who is this?
I'm blocking this number. I'll call the police.
And I'm like, oh, Anne, I've got 1,000 numbers.
I love it when my friends threaten to call the police on me. It's so silly.
It's just a back and forth that we have.
It happens all the time.
Me and AH. She doesn't really have initials that easily nickname, I feel. I don't feel like A is a good beginner to a nickname. Well,
same.
Notice how we don't call you AW?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be called AJ.
Oh.
I was like, call me AJ.
Yeah.
I think I just watched Sopranos and I was like, it's cool. He's AJ. I can be AJ.
AJ is not bad. AJ is, I would say, one of the only A beginner initial nicknames that work.
I think it's because J is a strong initial.
J is good. I mean, JD, a classic nickname. One thing I realized, we are recording today. Tomorrow is the US election. So this is a time traveling episode, right? Because when it comes out, we will know the results. So right now, we either live in a world still under the yoke of modern Nazis. Oh, you do hate the yolk. Well, let's throw off the yolk. Yeah.
Give me all that egg white.
Well, exactly. And like between now and when that episode comes out, we will either be continuing our descent into global fascism or it'll be better.
It's a tense time.
So I think now I just want to say before the election comes out that I, as a heterosexual cisgender woman, am glad that Trump won another term. It's going to be a really great time for us white heterosexual women, you know? I'm just really keen for it.
You're wincing as you're saying this. You're physically wincing. I feel like I've been so distracted by all of the other insane shit. I've barely turned my attention to the election, which is, of course, important.
It's been a fucking wild time.
It really has. It really has. I think that, like, my life has been so busy, and then there's also just been one disaster after another, that the election has been totally on the back foot, which has made it one of the weirdest elections ever. It has a real weird feel to it.
Also, American elections...
That's my political opinion. Weird feel. The vibes are off.
Poor vibes at best. Well, it's also...
I'm just not vibing with this election.
American elections go for so long as well. Like,
I remember the lead up to the 2016 one felt like it was forever.
Well, it's partly because they start their primaries like 6 months before the election, but then also they start speculating for the primaries like 6 months before that. So it feels like an 18-month long election.
Yeah.
And Trump campaigns even when he's in office. So it just feels like it's been perpetual campaigning for 4 years. And this is just the end of that 4-year long election campaign.
Speaking of Trump, Psycho.
Yeah, that's it. We did it.
The perfect segue.
Peak segue. We figured it out.
Psycho was very strange.
It was an odd experience. I want to say up front, I haven't watched the original Psycho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, this was a shot-for-shot remake of the original Psycho, so you kind of have.
Well, so that, for me, this isn't the remake of Psycho. This is Psycho. This is my beginning and end.
There's another one? There's more?
What's the opposite of a reboot? An unboot, where they make it before?
Yeah, I guess a pre-boot.
A pre-boot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen the pre-boot.
A pre-boot sounds like something where a person that you're dating but you're not vibing with, you break it off before it can be a thing. It's a pre-boot.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's like ghosting, really. Well, you're familiar.
I am the ghost queen. Very on theme for Halloween. Yeah, it was a shot-for-shot remake, and it was totally unnecessary.
It didn't...
That's the general consensus of this film. It's a weird one.
My problem with watching it for this podcast is that, as you said, it's a shot-for-shot remake. But I also know that the original is a classic, but I also really didn't like this.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like this might be a short episode because it's hard to talk about why the plot is wacky because it's not a wacky plot. It's not crazy. We're all familiar with Psycho. We know the plot of Psycho.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously, because you've seen it, right? Yeah.
I love the movie. It was made by Herbert Houchkick, and he's made the way he moves the camera is at the time really different from the way others moved the camera. It's just really interesting from a historical film theory perspective. But I would say I think the Barbie movie was better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Better themes.
Yeah, you're doing your master's in directing this year, hey.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why I'll be able to bring these insights to the greater Australian landscape. And that might leave me more educated than a bunch of the Australian directors.
Yeah, it's such a weird one because I feel like Gus Van Sant did this as like as an experiment.
Yeah, because he's a good director.
He's a good director.
He's not a hack.
No, he did fucking
Didn't he do My Own Private Idaho?
Yeah, he
Elephant?
did Elephant. He did Milk.
He did Milk?
Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, I know he did Good Will Hunting. But I feel like that's almost the more divisive of his movies.
I actually don't like Good Will Hunting very much.
Ego my point.
And I'm really glad that Community like ripped it off for a good season or two.
Yeah.
It's hard to have a lot to say about this one because it's this weird experiment where he said, if I could make a film that is critically hailed shot for shot again, would people like it? Will it work? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
Because it's not fresh or fun or interesting. You watch the whole film thinking, why is he doing this?
You know what I would say? This is less of a funny and more of just a genuine film theory position. Because I teach in some of my classes talking about the Soviets and how they ran experiments. This is where they came up with the Kuleshov effect of showing American movies and Russian movies that they made shot for shot, but would change one aspect. And they found that, you know, when the cinematography changed, it didn't matter. When the acting changed, it didn't matter. The main thing that created a difference between the different styles was the editing. And that's where they came up with the fact that the construction of the shots all together is what told the story. And that is still mostly true. But this is almost like a counter argument to that because it is shot for shot. And that would mean it's edited mostly the same.
Yeah.
And yet it's what people don't like it. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah. I'll do the overview really quickly so we can just get straight into it. And my overview is very brief because Psycho is quite a classic film and it doesn't need that much explanation.
It's kind of a loose story too.
It is. This is a very short overview. Marion Crane steals a lot of cash from a man whom her boss is in business with. On the way to see her boyfriend, she stops off by an old motel run by the odd Norman Bates. She is murdered in the shower, and her sister, boyfriend, and a private investigator try to find out where she is. All the while, we learn more about Norman Bates and his strange relationship with his mother. That's a very general overview of it.
Yeah.
But I think we're all familiar with Psycho. The whole reveal is that Norman ends up being the same person as his mother, and he has left his mother in a chair, skull and wig and all, and he impersonates her. And it's another weird trans allegory.
I know. I can't believe we've done 2 movies that are remakes of older movies that have awful trans allegory in it.
They brought this up in Disclosure. Disclosure. Disclosure?
The documentary?
God, my brain's dying. They brought this up in Disclosure, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They brought up Psycho.
Yeah, they brought up Psycho. I want to know if there's any more movies on this list that are horror remakes with bad trans allegory in it, because it'd be interesting if there was a total hat trick in this list of bad movies.
Yeah.
At least they're bad. At least we don't like them.
Yeah, this is just a silly one because it's just like I'm not afraid to say this episode is weird because this isn't just a normal bad movie. This guy just did a shot-for-shot remake of a film and went, yeah, it didn't work. And everyone went, yeah, you're fucking right. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Because, like, you can't tell the story of Psycho again in 1998. It doesn't translate properly. There's different, like all of the social fabric of the movie is different. You know, women are viewed differently, men are viewed differently. Yeah. The fact that she's having an affair with a man and she's stolen a bunch of money was insane in 1960. They were like, holy shit, this woman is fucking wild. She's off the rails. And then she gets murdered.
Yeah.
Suddenly in the middle of the film and everyone lost their shit. It's just... Why do it again? It doesn't make sense in the 90s.
It's also, I think if you are going to do a shot-for-shot remake, this isn't the one to do. And part of it reminds me when I started learning guitar, people would bash learners for being able to... Actually, let me rephrase that. When I was learning guitar, a lot of beginners would say Hendrix is overrated. And it's because they would say, you know, Hendrix is overrated because every beginner guitarist can learn it. And it's like, he's not overrated because every beginner guitarist learns what he did, right? That's influential. Psycho is like that. Like every horror movie is Psycho. It was such a landmark for being so different from other horror movies. And if you're going to do a remake of it, it would sit weirdly considering every other movie that would exist at the same time is an improvement upon it.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's why if you do a movie that is like American New Wave movies now, it would kind of suck. And it's not because the movies of that time sucked. It's because we've moved on.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And so like I don't think Psycho would be as good coming out in 1998 because it already came out. Like, it's like if you made the Beatles now, it would suck, but that's because there's already the Beatles.
I think there's a lot of people that argue that a film should be so good that no matter when it's made, it can be like told again and again. Like, a film isn't just good because it was revolutionary in the 1960s. Like, it should still hold up now. No fucking way. You watch The Third Man, you can't make that shit today. It'd be terrible. But you watch it and you appreciate it for what it was at the time, and the fact that nothing like that existed beforehand, and it set a whole, like, it just, I think you should appreciate things for when they came out and the impact that they had. That is part of it. And that is why Psycho 1960 is a great movie. That is why Psycho 1998 is a terrible movie.
Yeah. That's also why, like, watching it is different from it being released. If Jaws came out now, it would be regarded as a loose screenplay that isn't doing 3-act structure very well.
Yeah.
But it was also the movie that cemented that structure in place.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
Because you that's what you do with art, is you improve it, is you continue to have your own spin on it, and then collectively we make it different.
Exactly. I feel like I'm getting really confused because at uni right now we're just trying to write a film that is, or a TV show that is kind of like perfect in every sense. Good structure, good characters. That is our mission, is we're writing a really standard good film. And you're kind of going along the process being like, well, this director did that and this screenwriter does this, and why do I have to do it?
Yeah.
And really it's just like we're trying to prove that we can write a good screenplay so that we can write different ones later.
Yeah. It's fundamentals.
Yeah, exactly. And fundamentals are important. But yeah, I keep going around in circles thinking like, but art should be whatever you want it to be, but also I believe in a really strict set of rules that can tell us exactly what is good and bad. It's confusing.
Well, it's kind of like a drawing with a pencil. Like a pencil drawing still needs a pencil, and to be on something that the pencil can make a mark on. That's the structure of a drawing. You know? You're trying to make the structure of a story. A story is just a more complicated thing than paint on a canvas.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make the art form more or less valid. It's just a different structure that's required for it to be a story.
Also, watching this Psycho makes me really want to rewatch the original Psycho, which is a fun time. Which of the Hitchcock films is your favorite, do you reckon?
I think of the ones I've seen, I don't know, it probably is Rear Window, but I have a weird affection for Strangers on a Train more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the two tie for me, but definitely Rear Window, I think.
I think Rear Window is a better movie, but I thought Strangers on a Train was just such a fun premise.
Oh my God, yeah.
I can't get over it.
I remember my mum used to pitch it to me before I'd actually seen it, and she was like, it's about this, there's this movie about two men, they meet on a train, and they agree to murder other people for each other so they can't link the murders. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then as an adult, I still thought about that premise and had to watch it. That's crazy.
It's so good.
Like, that's such a strong premise. I thought about it for years before I watched a movie. Fuck, I really wish one day I could write a premise that good.
Yeah.
Just think of a premise that good. And then some little kid will be like, I have to watch that movie for like 10 years.
You know,
that's the dream.
90% of the time when someone in the film industry says they have a really good idea and they're cagey about it, it's like the idea doesn't matter. It's the execution and your spin on it. This is an exception. That's a spectacular premise.
Also, Alfred Hitchcock has a very distinctive point of view. I mean, every director does. He has a very point of view, like very specific point of view and a very specific thing he's trying to say.
Isn't it towards blonde women? That's his point of view.
Yeah. But Gus Van Sant just copied it, obviously.
Yeah.
And he thought, I believe he thought he was putting his own take on it. Like he was like, oh, it's the same shot, but I'm doing my own spin on it. I don't think that's how it works.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how it works.
That's like, I would genuinely want to watch it with both of them on the screen at the same time.
They are shot for shot identical. There's only a couple of things he deviated on, which actually I have here.
Okay.
Kind of like the trivia is really just quite integrated into just talking about this film because that's what it is. So apparently, here's the thing. When he was asked why he did a shot for shot full color remake of Psycho, Gus Van Sant replied, so no one else would have to. Which is a wild response because no one did have to.
But he's also right, because now in the age of reboots, no one's talking about it. He was totally right.
But they did make like the whole like Bates Motel TV show. Like they're still using that story.
That was one with Freddie Highmore, right?
Yeah.
Before he became the good doctor who is so autistic. He's a good doctor.
That guy is annoying. I've never liked Freddie Highmore. He was just in a string of movies when he was 10, and in all of them he was a really bratty child, and it really turned me against him.
He was good in one. Was he in James and the Giant Peach? Was that him?
I don't know.
Was that
He
a
was in
different
Finding
kid?
Neverland.
I didn't watch that one.
Oh, good for you.
Wasn't he in... Oh, he was in the Spiderwick movie, wasn't he?
I don't know.
I liked those books.
He was also in Nanny McPhee.
Oh, I never watched Nanny McPhee.
I love how we've all seen, like, together we have seen all of Freddie Highmore's discography, just the alternating movies. I think him and Thomas Sangster?
Thomas Brody Sangster.
Yeah, from Love Actually. I always confuse them.
Yeah.
Same energy. Well, but Thomas was like the purer Freddie Highmore.
And also both of them grew up to have the exact same face they did when they were 10, but much taller.
Yes. Which is different to the Haley Joel Osment effect, which is where you have the same face, but your face...
Same size face.
Your features stay the same, but your face grows wider around it.
Yes.
That was what happened to him.
I will say, though, he has kind of come back in terms... Like, he's grown into it.
Yeah, I reckon.
He was in a few episodes of Silicon Valley, which I watched all the way through recently, and you know what? He looks good.
Oh,
he's looking good.
Good for him. We support you, Haley Joel Osment.
He's doing a good job.
For now.
Oh.
Who knows what will happen next week?
Well, yeah, I mean, to be honest, we live in 2020. Maybe he'll come out and say, like, yeah, that's why I always make shows with white people. And we'll be like,
Another one bites the dust. So here's another thing as well. So this is what I was saying before. Gus Van Sant does not consider the remake a copy of Sir Alfred Hitchcock's original film.
What?
Wild. He remarked, "If I hold a camera, even if it's in the same place, it will magically take on the character. Our Psycho showed you can't really appropriate, or you can, but it's not going to be the same thing." And I read that and went, yeah, it's worse. It's not the same thing. You made a worse thing.
I hate, like, you reading out to me what he's saying. Like, I'm like, I want to disagree with you so hard, but you're right, because I watched it and it was different, and it, like, he's right though.
Yeah, he's right, but
he's like the little nerd who's right, but you still want to punch him in the face, because that was me.
Proved was that it doesn't mean it's better. Like,
yeah.
It is different, but you made it worse. It didn't have to exist. Also, director Ty West, who I've never heard of, has been one of the few defenders of this film. He argues that Van Sant, as a director, by remaking Psycho completely shot for shot, was experimenting and creating a commentary on the quality of a film by taking a beloved classic that has been worshipped and acclaimed since its release by critics and film scholars. The fact that the shot-for-shot remake was so derived upon release is a fascinating result of this particular experiment, since Van Sant took a great film and copied this completely. But this is what we were saying before. It doesn't matter that he copied it completely. The surroundings of the film, the context of the film's release adds to the film.
Yeah. I will also say, like, I actually really love that Gus Van Sant did this. Like, there's way too much time and energy put into people discussing, should this be remade or should that be remade? And, there's a remake of etc. coming out. Should it happen? What would they do differently to make it good or bad? Blah, blah, blah. And it's such a fucking boring conversation.
It really fucking is.
And I love Gus Van Sant, like, all right, what if we did make it identical? Every time there's a remake and there's a little thing different and people go, now it's worse. It's like, what if we made it identical? And the answer is, it's actually worse than if you change everything.
Yeah.
Because you know what? The RoboCop remake isn't on this list, but Psycho is.
RoboCop. RoboCop.
Wait.
RoboCop.
What is this bit?
You know that Vine, the Gabriel Gundaker Vine? Where he's just he literally walks out of his apartment and he's like, "Hey, what's your favorite movie?" And all these voices come back saying, RoboCop.
Right.
RoboCop. They're right.
I was just making a point that was a really bad remake that really missed the point, but also this was shot for shot and it was worse.
Yes.
So I don't...
We're all losers here.
Yeah.
Gus Van Sant lost. We lost because we watched it. Everyone's losing.
Oh, trust me. I was a loser well before watching this.
I feel like in the next couple of days, we may end up being losers as well. We will see what happens.
We'll find out by the time this airs. I might have to splice in a disclaimer. We talk about a world pre-neo-fascism. Please forgive us.
Here's another piece of trivia for you, because now I'm just straight into them.
Yeah.
During filming, Gus Van Sant brought along a DVD player and played the original Psycho, and they used this for reference, which is crazy, because that's a really loose frame of reference. Like, I love that they just kept watching the movie to set their shots up.
Why would they not, like, print out
That's what I was thinking.
frames or something?
And then do the storyboards.
Why would you bring it?
I don't know.
All right.
That's,
He knows how to make movies better than I do, so whatever.
He does. I guess, yeah. When he spotted a mistake in brackets, a door opening without a key, for instance.
Yeah.
Van Sant decided to use the same mistake in his film. So apparently the original film was littered with these just like small continuity errers.
Oh, he kept all of them.
He kept them because he wanted to do it completely shot for shot. And he
Yeah.
enjoyed that Hitchcock made mistakes. And again, I think that was part of his experiment, being like, he made mistakes, but we all think it's a great film, but I make a mistake and you think it's a bad film.
You know what? I take it back. No, I don't. There's nothing I'm taking back. I want to add on to last week we were talking about Freddy Got Fingered and how it's basically a giant prank at the studio's expense.
Yeah.
This is the other side of that same spectrum because this is also just a film experiment at the studio's expense,
Really
but it's the pretentious one instead of the awful punk one.
Yeah, this is the one that tried really, really hard to prove something very particular. And then the other one is we didn't try at all and that's what we proved.
But it was still ultimately just Gus Van Sant going like, what would happen? Like,
Yeah.
He didn't go, I'm going to make a good movie. He said, I'm just going to, what would it happen?
But you know what I mean? I love the experiment, but I am just so revolted by how many remakes there are. I'm sick of them. I want new stories. So when people are like, oh, there's another fucking Spider-Man film out, I get angry, which is stupid, but I get angry because I want new stories.
That's what I liked about the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies is that they were different stories that I hadn't seen on screen of Spider-Man. I was like, this isn't the same story. This is a whole different story.
And I know that. And I know that they're doing a pretty good job at the moment. I wasn't really impressed by the whole Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, that's
That whole thing.
rubbish.
Yeah, that shouldn't have happened.
If that was gone entirely from the world, I feel like we would all collectively have liked the Tom Holland Spider-Mans even more because they wouldn't have been the third Spider-Man in our lifetimes.
Exactly. In Psycho 1960, Sir Alfred Hitchcock wanted his opening shot to be a long, complete pan and zoom over the city into Marion's hotel room. Sadly, the technology was not yet perfected, and he achieved his effect through a series of pans and dissolves. The remake does a complete traveling shot as Hitchcock had intended.
That's
I
cool.
love that because when we started it, there is this great shot in the original Psycho and in the remake of just sweeping into this apartment building. And we watched the 1998 one being like, Hitchcock couldn't have gotten this shot.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have happened. And we all agree that he probably wished he could do it. And sure enough, that was the case.
Yeah.
Gus Van Sant completed what Hitchcock wasn't able to in the 1960s, which is cool.
That is cool.
But that's all of my trivia. There isn't that much about it.
I stand by it, by the way, especially based on we were talking about Rope, where it's a one-shot movie, but it had to be done and like constantly would move behind a chair and then it would be black and then it would come back out and you're like, oh, there's a cut there. Hitchcock would have made some fucking buck wild movies now.
He really would have.
He really, really would have.
When did Hitchcock die?
And we would have cancelled the fuck out of him and he would have deserved the fuck out of it.
But that's before racism was bad. That's when women were objects. Okay?
You're right, you know? You're right. It's hard to argue with that logic.
All this PC culture.
Well, I'm a Mac person, so don't fucking come at me. What did you ask just before? What the fuck did you say?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't quite rightly know.
Wind it back, Randy.
Play the tapes. I've got some reviews.
Oh, we're going to reviews already?
We can space them out. Or we can talk about other things. Well, Hitchcock. What I love about Mr. Hitchcock is his bald head.
I want to specifically talk about Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates, which I thought was a real outside choice.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Let's rewind.
We have to talk about it, right?
So Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates,
which is okay. I guess this was pre frat pack dominance of comedies, so he wasn't yet just known for comedies.
No, he's done things like Swingers, and he was kind of like a leading man at the time, like in a minor way.
Which I don't know. Maybe it's just that I haven't seen that many pre-2002 Vince Vaughn movies because he always screams angry little incel to me.
Oh no, that guy's getting fucked. Like he's getting laid. He's not an incel.
Sorry, not. You're right. He's getting fucked left, right, and center.
Yeah. Have you seen his chin?
What?
Cleft chin.
Just his
big
dark,
lips,
scowling eyes at all times.
That's just the coke.
He looks furious at everything.
He always has bags under his eyes, and like he just generally regrets existing, which I relate to.
I don't like him as a leading man because I don't like him as a person.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Vince Vaughn, out of like the whole frat pack, because that's what I remembered him from the most as well, had the most menacing aura.
Yeah.
Well, the rest of them seemed like pure dumb puppy dogs, but then there was Vince Vaughn brooding in the back, and he's like 6'8", smoking a fucking joint behind
and I'm like,
them all.
stay away from him.
Yeah.
That's why he was good in Anchorman, because he played the dark, angry man as a counterpart to Ron Burgundy.
But he was a lovely lead in Dodgeball. I liked him in Dodgeball.
I didn't watch Dodgeball. It always had much more bro energy to it.
Yeah.
And, you know,
it was the film that they slapped on in high school consistently when they just wanted us to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the guys in my high school really liked it, and that made me really not want to watch it.
Good for you. See, all the guys in my high school liked it, and I was like, I like it too, because I'm different from other girls.
Ah.
Again, this is when women were objects. Different time. Turns out I'm sentient.
Well, given how the vote went in 2016, are we still objects?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so this is where we'll edit in based on how tomorrow goes, whether or not women are still objects. We'll splice it in.
Is it really tomorrow?
It's tomorrow.
Fuck me dead.
I know. I have so much work to do tomorrow, and I'm just going to be looking at the news.
Yeah. I was going to take a mental health day tomorrow.
Good choice.
No.
No, tomorrow's the day to take a mental health day.
I don't know. I think I'll just be stressed the whole time watching results pile in.
Feel better.
About what?
If it goes not bad.
Sorry. Yeah, no, you're right. Optimism is key.
Yeah.
Anyway, what we talk Vince Vaughn being menacing.
What an angry boy.
Yeah, he was a fun lead. No, him as Norman Bates was a whole other thing.
Yeah, it was.
It was, I think, the worst performance of his career.
Agreed. And I think that's like...
He was a very different Norman Bates, though.
If we're talking about what micro elements make it different from Psycho, right? Because if it is shot for shot, the composition of the shot and the editing is the same, then there's lots of subtleties, things like the color, things like the performances.
The performances are a massive thing, because when you think about Anne Hesh, she played Marion totally different to Janet Leigh. She was a very different Marion.
Did she?
In the original, Marion is very like verbose and kind of like flirty and fun. In this one, she's very quiet and aloof.
She seemed very stressed
out. It's the
out.
same dialogue, but she's just so much more ice cold.
I said it seemed like
was interesting.
She had just come from a rave.
She
because of her
100% looked like she had that 90s pixie cut.
Yeah.
She looked
bleach blonde.
Anne Hesh at the time was dating Ellen DeGeneres, and they look identical.
What?
They look the same. She dated her clone, and honestly, if I had a clone, I'd have sex with myself just to try it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I get that. I've thought that before. I also feel like it would be weird because I'd be like, ugh, but I would want to give it a go.
Yeah. Is it wrong to have sex with yourself? Like, if there were clones, do you reckon it'd be taboo? Like, you can't fuck yourself?
The initial question...
It must be. That'd be like fucking family.
Yeah, it would be like fucking family. Because the question is a clone a separate sentient entity from you? Right?
Yes.
Because if they are just you replicated, then it's much more like masturbation. You know, you're making a pact with yourself to do it.
True.
But if they're a separate person who over time would become more like a twin than a clone.
Yeah, it would be like a twin.
Then
It'd be
it's
like
fucked
a dead.
up.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
fucked
it would
up.
be fucked up. It'd be like, it would be socially taboo to fuck yourself.
I think that means you have a very limited window.
Where you can get away with it.
Because when they're most just like yourself, and then as they become a distinct person.
So as soon as that clone appears, you fuck them on the spot.
You gotta fuck.
Yeah, but it's a secret.
Well, because again, they're still a sentient person, but they're you. So if you're like, I'm making this clone to fuck, and then you clone, then you're both thinking, I want to fuck you.
So it's completely
still
consensual. Yeah,
that's the key.
That's
you're
what I
not
was
like
about to
manipulating
ask.
them.
No.
Because they're still you at that point.
I don't know. Now I'm getting confused and uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's fair.
Consent is important. If your clone consents to fuck you, you're good to go.
Now, then there's the other thing of like, if it's a clone of you, but like a newborn you, where it's like, it's your body at the time, but with a fresh consciousness, which opens up way too many questions of how consciousness works.
Well, I mean, we've got the time. This is a very boring film.
Then I would say you cannot fuck.
Strictly no fuck.
No, you cannot in any way fuck an entity that is brand new to consciousness.
100%.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. That is how we currently operate.
Yes,
as a society. That's the rule now.
It's not controversial. But I feel like people question it when it's a clone, and they shouldn't.
And it gets controversial when people think it's an actual sexuality, you know, wanting to fuck minors. They think that they're a victim and that it's not their fault and that they're being oppressed for being pedophiles. But let's not get into that. That's a different conversation for another day.
Yeah.
Also, I think that Anne Hesh and Ellen DeGeneres fucking would be like that episode of Broad City where Alana has sex with, what's her name, Alia Shawkat?
Yeah.
Because they look the same. It'd be like that. But then maybe it just got too weird after a time.
Yeah, well, I mean, they aren't together now, so...
Didn't last.
You know.
But that's Anne Hesh for you. Sorry, I'm just still thinking about clones.
I also thought Viggo Mortensen did a bad performance.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible. Everyone in this film was so attractive, though. Everyone in this film was so sexy.
Sexy movie.
This was the sexiest movie ever.
Julianne Moore was at her peak hot, I feel.
She looked like she was about to go explore the fucking Egypt in her outfit, but she marched into that room.
She screamed to me Laura Dern in Jurassic Park vibes.
Yeah,
who I always, that always got me going.
Nice.
When I was younger.
Nice.
And as an adult, even more so.
It was always Jeff Goldblum slapping a pile of shit.
He doesn't even...
Slaps it.
He doesn't... That doesn't happen in the movie.
Well, he just stares at it longingly.
He does look at it. Longingly?
Longingly. Am I misremembering Jurassic Park? No, I'm kidding. It's the bit where Jeff Goldblum goes... His laugh is bananas.
Yeah.
I can't stop saying bananas today. It's bananas.
Yeah.
Just like the way Jeff Goldblum slapped that pile of shit.
Just like a banana. Point being, Julianne Moore looked fantastic. Viggo Mortensen looked great, but performance weak. That man's Aragorn. He can do better than this. Also, hearing him with an American accent really upsets my soul. I know.
He's American.
What?
Isn't Viggo Mortensen American?
I thought he was Danish. I thought his Aragorn accent was his normal accent.
He was born in New York.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he is half Danish because I think his dad is Danish and his mom is American, but he was born in America.
I want to hear him in an interview because I bet he doesn't sound with that southern twang he had in the movie.
Oh, yeah. I bet it's like a lot more
that was
mixed as an accent because apparently he also grew up. Well, he was a resident of Venezuela and Argentina during his childhood.
Oh, Jesus.
So his accent's probably weird. In a cool way.
If he grew up in New York, it's definitely, hey, I'm Viggo Mortensen.
I'm Aragorn here.
I'm Aragorn. When he opens the door in Two Towers, he's like, I'm walking here.
I want to watch that Lord of the Rings. That's so dumb.
Didn't I one time say I wanted to re-edit Lord of the Rings as a trilogy, but I wanted to keep everything the same, but I wanted to make Legolas revoiced with a Mickey Mouse impersonation.
Yes, you did. Yes. And I wanted to do it where the film was exactly the same, but the score was just a group of people singing the score. So it was just like...
But not like good. Would it be good a cappella?
No.
Okay, yeah.
No, it's just a group of random people.
Yeah.
Doing their best.
Yeah.
Thank
you, my friend.
So it'd basically be like a really bad like recorder version of a song. Maybe it could just be straight up a bad recorder.
I miss when we did that.
You and me?
No, I just mean
in general.
Culturally. That one, the melodica of Jurassic Park, that was a fun...
You really do move in herds.
Yeah. That was a fun meme.
That was a good meme.
I miss memes like that. That was a fun time.
But we were talking about Viggo Mortensen and the sexy cast.
He's so...
And then you've got William H. Macy just on the side.
Oh, yeah. I forgot he was in this. You know what? He did a good job.
He did do a good job.
I think he did a good job.
I was actually reading about him. So he really wanted to be part of this film because he was dying to work with Gus Van Sant. Oh. And he was like, oh, you're doing a Psycho remake, sick. But he didn't realize it was going to be a shot-for-shot remake. Oh. So when he got on set, he was super disappointed. He was like, oh, you're not doing your own spin on it? Because I really like you as a director. I really wanted to see what you'd do with it. And he was like, nope, shot-for-shot. And William H. Macy really is not proud of the film. He's happy he worked with Gus, but he hates the film.
I mean, he definitely put in the most effort.
Yeah.
And I get why he would want to work with Gus Van Sant. He's a real character actor, that guy.
He really is.
You know?
Want to watch Fargo now.
It's great in Fargo, which I said before, I read a whole book that compared the structure of Fargo and Psycho, similar structure.
Yeah. Also, just a note on the oh my god!
What the fuck? Every fucking episode.
My tummy's not happy today.
Can we not for one day in our lives?
At the end of the year, I want just a supercut of all of my burps. I demand it. It's a special episode of just me burping.
I get accused of being the gassy grub in the house.
You are a grub.
And yet you are the one.
I'm an angel.
There is more physical evidence.
Never done a thing wrong in my life. Do you want some reviews?
Yeah, I'd love to do the reviews.
Literary critic Camille Paglia commented that the only reason to watch it was to see Anne Hesh being assassinated.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. So much of... Okay, so this is a review left by Peter Brunet of film.com. So much of Vincent's new version of the classic remains the same that you sit there shaking your head mumbling why oh why. Same.
Right.
Here's one from Jay Hoberman from The Village Voice. This movie lacks the chutzpah to even be a travesty. True. And this one is a great one from Roger Ebert. The movie is an invaluable experiment in the theory of cinema because it demonstrates that a shot-by-shot remake is pointless. Genius apparently resides between or beneath the shots, or in chemistry that cannot be timed or counted.
That was my
wonderful.
point. I'm basically as smart as...
Are you...
Well, you know, his death, my birth.
He died
not
around the
near
time
each
I
other.
met you. I've never seen you and Roger Ebert in the same room. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying.
You can't not prove it.
This is... Oh, by the way, I found an IMDb review that just completely cut off, and I found it so funny. It was 10 out of 10. Absolutely stunning. One of the best films I've ever seen. Vince Vaughn delivers an amazing, and then it just stops. Amazing what? But here's the review. It was actually left on IMDb in 1999, and as I was saying to you, it's insane that IMDb has existed for that long. This is a real love letter to the travesty that is that website. Thank you for giving us this terrible list. Love you, IMDb. This is a shot-for-shot remake of the original, is the subtitle. The subject.
The title?
Subject. It's the title of the review. Sorry. It was left by Nick 007. Hey.
Boo. I hate that username. It was 007 and then just Nick.
We turned on him so quickly.
To be fair, James Bond's name is just Jim.
This is the review, and I think you'll love it because you tend to love 10 out of 10 reviews that also seem to hate the movie.
Yeah, I do.
Let me start out by stating my concluding sentence. This movie was okay. Just okay. It was made shot for shot like the original, though it did have a few extra parts, of course needed to sell it to a 90s audience. One such scene is when Norman Bates is, how should I put this, flogging his dolphin through a peephole.
That's the choice.
You could have put it in thousands of other ways, Nick 007. Not too tasteful, but oh well. If this movie didn't have Vince Vaughn in it, who is an awesome actor, then I think the movie wouldn't have made a penny, except from fans of the original. But I seriously doubt that too many fans would have gone to see it. In conclusion, this movie was okay. It wasn't great. 10 out of 10. Even when I try to find good reviews, they're like, nah, it kind of sucked.
You're right, though. I loved that.
The hypocrisy is what gets you. It's why you love me. I'm a walking contradiction of a person. So this film got 4.6 stars. Mm-hmm. I would give it, maybe a 4. It's not that far off.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have that many thoughts on it. We got through it, we watched it, we experienced it, and now you've kind of seen Psycho, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I've seen Psycho now. I don't know if I could rate it as a movie, to be honest.
I know, that's how I feel. This is a really weird one.
Well, if in class a student did a coverage exercise and gave it to me, I wouldn't give it a rating. I wouldn't say it's good or bad. They're just experimenting. That's what this is. It's just studio funded and theatrically released.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be rated. It's not a movie.
Yeah.
It's just a theory that people paid way too much money to make.
100%.
Yeah. But if I was to give it a rating, probably a 3.
Well, there you have it, folks. That was the 1998 remake of Psycho. What are we watching next week, Michelle?
Next week, we're watching the Sylvester Stallone film, Driven.
Wow.
hey, how's it going? No, I'm making I feel like I shouldn't. Right?
It feels like we're hinging on offensive, but it's just Sylvester Stallone.
It's just him, right? He doesn't. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited because I love a little Stallone.
I love
Just a little one.
just a teeny
I don't like the regular size.
tiny
Not for
little
me.
one.